required of you in these different things. The goal with any practice is to grow the patient base so it's large enough so that the word of mouth produces enough patients to grow at the rate you want and replace the ones you lose. So when people do startups and they go, oh, I don't know if I can afford to do this, or I don't know if I can afford to do this. And the goal is to spend the right amount of money and time so you can get that patient base large enough so that it kind of feeds itself. Does that make sense? Okay. Well, word of mouth, best way to get a patient. Unfortunately, it takes the longest amount of time. If you join an existing practice and you go in, one of the things we always do is look at how many patients the practice has, how many they've really seen. So let's say you've seen 2,000 in the last year. And then we go and look at how many patient referrals have happened in the last year. And so let's say we find that there's 2,000 active patients and 200 patient referrals. That means that practice has a 10% word of mouth factor. Okay. Dentistry naturally has some organic word of mouth that just happens because you're in the medical profession. Okay. Social media built on that. The internet built on that. But practices that grow at the rate they want to grow and have word of mouth that kind of feeds the monster usually have word of mouth that's closer to 20%. And then that ends up being most of the new patients they want. The website supports that. Their social supports that. Okay. Their Solution Reach account with their email and text reminders and all those different things supports that. Most of your digital spend in an established practice.
I'm so proud of you, Liv.
And then I was coughing and you walked past me. It was like a covered your mouth, Mom.
Hey, if you guys wouldn't mind muting your devices so Kristie can talk. We're picking up somebody's, I don't know what that is. Please.
There we go.
Thank you.
So if you can get that patient base to the right sweet spot where you have enough word of mouth and the digital exists to support it, that usually happens for a lot of people later in their career. If you start a startup tomorrow, that's not going to happen. Okay? You're going to have to do some other components of marketing. And really, there's only 3 kinds of marketing. Okay? Interruption, which you call advertising. Permission, everything on the internet, including social media and email marketing. And nobody asked about email marketing, guys, but email marketing is still one of the most effective forms of marketing. Cost effective, time effective, very, very cheap. You're probably already paying for it with your text and email appointment reminder service. So use it. People don't use it. And then marketing with meaning, where the marketing enhances the life of the customer. Those are the only 3 ways we can get patients. And they all have different costs of entry, and they all have different conversion rates and different expected rates of return. So let's go through those really quickly, and then we'll kind of talk a little bit about tracking and what we would look at. Because there were quite a few questions about, hey, how do I track all this marketing? And, you know, a patient says that they saw me on the internet, but then I heard them tell my assistant that they were really referred by Jane Smith. Like, how does that work? So interruption marketing, advertising is the most expensive. Okay. When we invest in that, for every $1 we spend, we want $3 in production to come back to the practice. Okay. So if I'm going to spend $10,000 on a direct mail campaign, I need at least $30,000 in production to come back to the practice for it to make sense. Okay. The kind of challenge with advertising, it's cost prohibitive for a lot of people. Advertising absolutely works. I have clients that do radio, that TV, print media, all these various things. It works, but it has rules. Okay. It has rules. And if I go into it with my eyes open and I have the right amount of investment, I can expect a 1 to 3 rate of return if I'm doing it right. And I can expect a 50% conversion rate. Wait a second, Kristie, you mean if 10 patients call from my TV ad, only 5 of them are going to schedule? Probably, because they weren't sitting at home going, gosh, I really hope I see an ad for a dentist about getting some new veneers. It's interrupting whatever it is they're doing. Okay. Lowest rate of return, highest cost of entry. If you have a startup practice, you probably have to do it. If you join an existing practice, you buy in, this is usually the last thing that people use because there's other ones that are more effective. Permission, for example. On the internet, for every $1 I spend, I want at least $10 to come back to the practice in production. And my conversion rate is usually closer to 70 or 75%. So I spend $10,000 on the internet. I want that to turn into $100,000. Now, guys, it doesn't turn into that in a single month. Okay. When you look at your annual investment versus your monthly investment is going to translate over the next 12 months as you see that patient for their new patient exam. And then they come back for treatment. And then they come back for their cleaning of whatever type that is. So when we look at return on investment, we typically look at that in a 12-month period. Now, when we track our investments on a monthly basis, we can look at that a little differently. We have to look at both sides. Otherwise, you get to the end of the year and go, oh, shoot, what happened? Where'd all my money go? Okay. Marketing with meaning, the internal marketing stuff, the stuff that's so easy, nobody does it on a regular basis. Patient of the week, patient of the month, monthly drawings, all the stuff that happens within the four walls of your office that social media helps support, 1 to 20. And typically a 90% conversion rate. Holy cow, Kristie, I want to get all my patients from that. Yes, you do. Okay. Where your marketing enhances the life of the community, patient appreciation events, sponsoring a 5K, walking down to the local pizza place, giving them 100 of your brochures, writing them a $250 check and saying, listen, until this $250 runs out, I want you to keep buying pizza for everybody that comes in and tell them it's on Dr. Boltz. Who's Dr. Boltz? Oh, I drive by that sign all the time. Oh, yeah. Part of the challenge with being a young dentist that's from the millennial generation is that you forget you have to connect with the other demographics. My husband and I were having dinner the other night, and he was talking to me about a dentist, and he said, oh my gosh, you would never believe the website I saw. And I said, no. We kind of have a contest, like who's seen the worst website today, right? And we have a contest. And so I pull out, let's see if I can find it. The doctor's name is Dr. Peach.
I'm nervous. I'm nervous for this.
Okay. In fact, his name is Harry Peach. Harry Peach, DDS.
That's made up.
Okay.
That's not real.
So here we go. There's Harry Peach, DDS in Maple Heights, Ohio. Okay. And I click on his website. As you can see, it's super fast to load. Okay. You guys have already all given up. Okay. Unreachable.
That's sad.
Okay. And on a phone, it's actually reachable. And all that's there is his name and a map and a phone number. That's it. And his logo is, of course, a what?
Some big nasty peach.
A big peach, but it's not furry. Okay. Okay. And he says, well, I went to a website today and I couldn't even find the phone number. Okay. So he says, look up 161 Dental in New Albany, which is right around the corner from his office and not that far from our house. So I Google the name of the practice, and sure enough, I see they're running pay-per-click ads at the top. The website is the first thing. Facebook page, I'm going, how can this be a bad website? Okay. And I click on it. And it's got this beautiful drone footage. This is downtown New Albany, and here's the name of the practice. And as I scroll down, I'm going, this website isn't bad. Why does he think this website's bad? Why does he think it's bad? Because he can't find the phone number. Because we're trained to look in that upper right. Now, on a mobile device, there's not even a phone number. There's just a little phone icon. And if you're a millennial, you know that. But if your patients that you want to get are my husband's age and not millennial age, you got to tweak that because he can't find the phone number. Okay. Understand that the demographic you serve, and really the demographic that probably needs more dentistry, is not millennials. Now, the tricky part about that is that as a general rule, the age of the patient base typically follows the age of the dentist in a bell curve, because your friends and those people you socialize with and those people you meet out in social situations will join the practice, and they might be your age. But part of the challenge with being a millennial dentist is your friends of the same socioeconomic group grew up going to the pediatric dentist. They've been to the orthodontist. They've had fluoride in their water. Unless you're going someplace, and I don't have that slide up here tonight, like West Virginia or Alabama or certain rural components where there's significant dentistry to be done on age demographics across the board, if all of you want to come practice in Draper, Utah, or Alpine, Utah, most of the millennials there have been taking care of their teeth and gums their whole life. And the significant amount of dentistry to be done is not on the restorative side, it's elective. Okay? So in thinking about who's your target patient, you have to think about, where do those people want to connect with me? Okay? Are they going to connect with me in the community? Are they going to connect within the four walls of my office? Where can I afford to spend the time and money? And this is where your budget steps in. Okay? Because somebody said, hey, if you had $1,000 to spend, what would it be? My husband's favorite answer as an accountant, especially at tax time, is it depends. Right? So some of you are practicing in rural areas. Some of you are practicing in suburban areas. Some of you are practicing in metro areas. Every practice is different. Your fees are different. The overhead's different. Whether you're participating in insurance plans. Somebody had a question, do I consider insurance participation a marketing cost? Yes, absolutely. It's a back-end marketing cost. Dentists sometimes are funny. We write off $50,000 or $60,000 a year for a particular participation insurance plan, but we won't stroke the check for $2,000 to build a new website. Insurance participation is a marketing cost. It's just a back-end marketing cost. Okay? So one of the things you have to figure out before you figure out how much you need to spend is, what's a new patient worth? So in this particular office, their fee for a crown is over $2,000. Is the fee for a crown over $2,000 in the office you work in now? Maybe, maybe not. Okay? So comparing national figures or figures of your colleagues doesn't make as much sense as comparing you to you. Okay? If Stu and I ride bikes together, he's going to beat me every time. But in cycling, we have something called a power to weight ratio. We measure how much power can I generate based on my weight. We don't weigh the same. But if I equal us out in my power to weight ratio, it's different. So if you're going to measure yourself against somebody else, you have to use the right metric. And I have yet to find a practice where every single variable is the same. Your fees are different, your location's different, your participation's different, your hours are different. So in this particular practice, a new patient, even though I'm a math nerd, will round up, a new patient's worth $3,000 in the first year. A returning patient's worth about $2,000. How much should they spend to go get a patient? Well, the short answer is we probably shouldn't spend more than $3,000. But outside of dentistry, if we go into car sales or something, selling LaCroix, hey, we're willing to spend more than $3,000 because we have a customer that's going to come back and spend two for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years after. You have to know what a new patient's worth, what an existing patient's worth, and how long they stay in the office. Okay? I had clients in rural North Carolina. The story I tell people all the time is how much they were spending on the yellow pages, and people laugh. Oh my gosh, what idiot would spend money on the yellow pages? It was generating $500,000 in revenue. In rural North Carolina at the time, nobody had high speed. Nobody had a smartphone. The yellow pages was how people found a dentist. Okay. However, half of their patient base was a Medicaid practice. They were the only Medicaid provider for miles. So the attrition rate of the practice, we replaced the patient base every 3 years. We had about a 35% attrition rate. If you're in a suburban family practice in New Albany, Ohio, your attrition rate is probably not 35%. But if you're losing patients that fast, you have to have a plan to replace them, and you have to know how much they're worth and how long they're going to stay. In comprehensive dentistry, a new patient's usually worth more in the first year because a comp is more than a periodic. 4 quads of SRP are more than follow-up PMT visits. An FMX or a Pano is more than 4 or 2 bite wings. Now, there are some practices, none of you, I would guess, who don't diagnose comprehensively at the beginning. And so a new patient ends up being worth a little amount. And then as people come over time, the existing patient ends up being worth more. Once you know what a new patient's worth, you figure out how much you can afford to spend to go get them. So remember those ratios again, 1 to 3, 1 to 10, 1 to 20. If a new patient's worth $3,000 and my entire marketing plan is advertising, I should spend $1,000 per patient. If I need 100 more new patients to meet my goals, I have to spend $100,000. Basic math. If I am going to get all of those patients on the internet, then my rate of return is going to be 1 to 10. I don't want to spend any more than $300. Somebody comes to me with a PPC and SEO and social media proposal, and it's $6,000 a month. I've got to quickly do the math in my head and go, okay, wait, I should only be spending about $300 per patient. How many patients is that going to generate? And I should do that math and ask for that projection. Word of mouth. Patient's worth $3,000. I'm looking for that 1 to 20 return. So now I want to spend maybe about $150. Sometimes dentists are funny. I'm willing to put together a direct mail campaign that has free whitening for life, which there's an associated cost. One of the most successful campaigns I ever saw was a $100 Walmart gift card with every completed new patient exam, any necessary x-rays, and recommended cleaning. That was the language. $100 Walmart gift card. There was a Walmart right across the street from the practice. And at the beginning, the doctor was very reluctant. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to spend $100. I'm already spending all this money on advertising. Well, wait a second. When we figured out what a new patient was worth, and we also started to look at that rate of return, it still made sense. Okay? Care to share programs and rewarding patients for referrals has long been prohibited by the Federal Trade Commission, but dentists do it all the time. There's nothing wrong with thanking someone for being an absolutely fantastic patient. Do not hang a banner out inside of your office that says, if you refer a friend, we will give you a Ferrari. You're not Oprah and you're going to get in trouble. Okay? So if you've got limited money and limited time, for most of you in existing practice, the best place to start is get out in the community and meet people. Okay? Join the Chamber of Commerce. If you belong to a local church, go there. Okay? Get out and be active at events. Did you join a gym? I don't know if that's a business expense, but okay, get out in the community, get to the schools, get to the places where the patients you want hang out. People do presentations at senior centers and assisted living centers on the benefits of dental implants. I've seen all kinds of things. The question you're asking yourself is, the patients that I want to see, where are they hanging out? And then you have to answer the question, the patients that I want to see, what hours do they work? And am I available outside those hours? Sometimes one of the smartest marketing decisions can simply be changing the hours of operation because you're the only one that's open when everyone else is closed. The Google My Business local algorithm now is largely driven by location, reviews, and are you open right now? The search results that I will get for dentist near me, best dentist near me that takes Delta Dental, best dentist near me for my family of 5, on my phone will change based on the time of day that you search. Look at your Google Analytics. Look at when your site's getting traffic. Typically, we see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It dips down Saturday, Sunday. But we have clients where Saturday and Sunday are busier because they're open on the weekend. Okay? Sometimes a smart marketing decision has nothing to do with writing a check or spending time, but simply changing your unique sales proposition in your community. That has nothing to do with if you have the best Facebook page or if you're the only guy that's doing virtual consults on an Instagram account. It's what's the thing that sets you apart in that 3, 5, 7, 10-mile radius where you're trying to be unique. Okay? And while we're on the subject of the internet and ranking, like Googling yourself, guys, is not the best way to go about it. Okay? You need to be using some kind of tool, or your internet, your SEO provider should be providing you with some type of tool. This is a ranking report. I was just on the phone with a client the other day. So we were looking at their rankings for all of these various terms. in different zip codes, on different devices, on different search engines. The list is long and exhaustive. And as you can see, they're doing very, very well. They've been at it for 10 years. Hey, that doesn't happen overnight. They've got a strong organic presence. They've got a strong local presence. If you look at all the various things we're tracking, 40% of the keywords and every possible keyword combination we're thinking of, they're in the top 10. Now, you might not think that's a big deal, but in downtown Boston, that's a huge deal. Okay? Roughly half of their new patients every month come directly from the internet. Googling things yourself, you guys know better. That's not the best way to do it. You need some kind of metric, some kind of rubric to be able to look at that. If you're advertising with pay-per-click or any kind of social advertising, you need to be looking at those insights. An impression is different on Facebook than it is on Google. Those are not the same. Okay? So in the digital world, there used to be just the web company I called. Now I've got a PPC agency, I've got an SEO agency, I've got a social agency, I've got a content writer. Like, there are experts in all kinds of things. Please do not try to run your own pay-per-click campaign on the side any more than I'm going to try and clean out this filling with my highlighter. Right? It just doesn't make sense. Use an expert. If you can't afford the expert, consider an alternative use of your budget. If you have $1,000 to spend on PPC and the expert's going to charge you $250 to manage it and you're only going to have $750 for AdWords, do it. If the expert's going to charge you $900 and you're only going to have a $100 budget, don't do it. Unfortunately, there are a lot of vendors out there where you don't know the right questions to ask and you get taken advantage of. I have a client in rural North Carolina where that's occurring. They got roped into a website renewal agreement of the previous owner dentist and come to find out they didn't do anything that they were supposed to do. And she doesn't know that without me, because it's impossible to keep up with all of these different digital components. The basics, the things you want to worry the most about, again, back to that 161, your first page reputation is crucial. When somebody Googles your name or the name of the practice, they're typically spending less than 2 minutes here. They're looking at 3 to 4 different things. They're quickly scanning. In the old days, we never ran a tracking phone number on a Google My Business listing, ever. It violated something called NAP, name, address, phone. Nowadays, Google allows us to have both a primary and secondary phone number in there, and so we can keep track of how many phone calls do we get just from this Google My Business listing. People who never even look at the website. And when we look, and here's an example, when you look at all of these different phone calls that come in this particular office, I've got it broken down by how many come from paid, how many come from organic, how many come from referrals, how many come from the billboard, and then I've got the mainline tracking in there. And I pull out how many of those are new patients. Your phones ring a lot, and not all of them are new patients. In fact, new patients generally represent less than 10% of the phone calls into the practice. This particular practice should have an urgent sense to fix their phone conversion, because on the main line last month, only half of new patients were converted. I'm getting the leads, I'm just not converting them. Sometimes the problem with marketing is not the marketing itself, but the conversion. So you have to track your analytics on the digital side. You have to track your call traffic. You have to track your total conversion all the way down the funnel. Okay? All the way down the funnel. Can you do it alone? Probably not. Okay? You probably need a couple people to help you. But that doesn't absolve you of the responsibility of looking at that and doing something about it. Okay? Let's go back to this and take a look at it. Okay? Here's a new patient summary. You guys should be looking at your new patient reports once a month. In this particular office, remember, a new patient was worth on the average about $3,000.
Kristie,
yeah.
we can't see it.
Oh, sorry. Let's try again. See it now?
There it is. Yep.
Thanks, Stu. Let's make it a little bigger. Okay. Remember, a new patient's worth $3,000. So we're looking here at what happened to all these patients. Here's their treatment plan. Not everybody's going to do $3,000 at the first visit, but sometimes I hear from people, oh, the internet only attracts young people. Well, here I've got a 68-year-old with a $5,500 treatment plan. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like she's done anything, and she's not scheduled to come back. This is the holy grail of new patient reports every month. What did we prescribe? How old were they? Where did they come from? What has been done? Have they paid us? And are they scheduled to come back? That is absolutely crucial. Because for most of us, the large majority of our production does not come at the new patient appointment. It comes at all the subsequent appointments thereafter. Okay? How do I track all of this? Well, I need to have some great call tracking in place. Okay? Call tracking's come a long way. It's now dynamic phone tracking, and I can track whether somebody comes from. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Stu's going to tell me if we can't see it. I've got the ability to look at where they called from, what page were they looking at, what keyword did they put in, how long was the call, I've got it recorded. I'm looking for things like, yeah, I like best dentist near me. I like veneers. If I see something show up there, cheapest dentist near me, I probably don't want that. Call tracking has gotten a lot more robust. Okay? Static phone tracking is gone by the wayside. If you're not using some type of dynamic phone tracking with all of your marketing efforts, start tomorrow. It's very cheap. It's very cost effective, I should say. And the data there is invaluable. You will find where your new patients are coming from. And you'll find out things like, hey, wait, they were on the website and on the phone call, they said, Mrs. Jones referred me. Well, that tells you what you've probably known intuitively all along, which is your website supports your word of mouth. Your social supports your word of mouth. Okay? A lot of questions from you guys about social media. And, you know, Jack Hadley is kind of the expert at My Social Practice, and he's got tremendous resources. Okay? If you're not already on their distribution list, if you're not going to see him the next time you're in Salt Lake, Jack is fantastic. So on the social side, somebody I think asked, what are the must sites to use? And for most of you, Facebook is a good place to start. And after that, it's probably Instagram. My rule with social is if you can't follow the rules, get out of the pool. There's no point in having a Twitter account if A, none of your patients have a Twitter account, and B, you can't tweet on a regular basis. Remember too, you can have all of these things and be pushing content that's screaming at a cocktail party. Nobody enjoys hanging out with that person. I would much rather see a practice have one or two limited social platforms that, number one, protect their first page reputation when somebody Googles them. And number two, we've got patients who are actually engaging with our content and sharing it. I could care less about the number of likes your page has. Are you producing content unique to the practice, valuable content from library-based content that people are finding worthy enough to share, comment, or like? The name of the game in social is engagement. It's not push. In the old days, when we found out that blogging helped SEO, you had all these dentists who started blogging. Nobody was reading the blog, but they were getting some SEO benefit if they were writing the right kind of content. Less than half were writing the right kind of content. On the internet, content is like shopping for produce at a grocery store. It has to be recent and it has to be relevant. If my husband sends me to the store to get stuff for a fruit salad and I come back with lettuce, tomatoes, and cucumbers, he's not going to care how great they are. If your website has tremendous content that's not relevant to the searches people are looking for. Cost is a big question. Don't skirt the issue. Write a page on cost. You don't have to include, hey, listen, this is actually how much every single procedure is in my practice. But you do have to be transparent and say, the range of fees is usually around this. Or at least say, hey, listen, this is like asking how much a car is. Depends what kind of car. Depends what you need. Call us. Come in for a complimentary consultation. People have questions about money and insurance because they don't know what else to ask about, number one. And number two, because they think their dental insurance and their medical insurance are the same. In medicine, the more catastrophic my need, the more coverage I have. So therefore, if I need a lot of work, I think in my mind, I need to find a dentist who is in my network. And that's not necessarily true. If you're creating content on the internet, it needs to be relevant to the search and it needs to be recent. My husband sends me to the store for produce for a fruit salad. I want to get the fresh yellow looking bananas, not the brown bananas that I would buy if I'm going to get there and make banana bread. The name of the game when it comes to content, freshness, relevancy. You are probably not the best person to write content for your practice. You're not an SEO trained writer. You're not a professionally trained copywriter. There are people out there with all of those skills. I've seen dentists piece together more professional campaigns using Fiverr and all these places online where you can solicit services. Now, is it better to use a professional who actually works with dentists or a professional who is actually charging more than $5 for a logo? Yes. Okay. But I'd rather use a professional that's charging $10 than try to do it yourself. The best use of your time is clinical dentistry and management and training of your team. It's not writing copy for your website. It's not creating social media posts on Buffer. Okay. Remember, meet your patients on the social network where they are. You don't have to be on every one. I had a client in rural Missouri that had a tremendous Snapchat following. Okay. Facebook presence was terrible, but their Snapchat following was fantastic. Every practice is unique. Okay. Make sure when you think about the basics of marketing, you come back to those three things: interruption, permission, marketing with meaning. 1 to 3, 1 to 10, 1 to 20. 50%, 70%, 90%. Let those basic metrics guide you. And then remember that if you try to measure everything at every time, you're going to get analysis paralysis. Okay? It's important that when you're starting to write checks, you make sure you can see that campaign all the way through. If you want to get involved in pay-per-click advertising, don't get involved with it for 2 weeks and then shut it off. If you want to get involved with direct mail, don't do it for 2 months and then shut it off. There's rules to certain forms of marketing. If you can't invest for the whole time period, you're better off not to invest at all. That goes back to that $1,000 question. I can't build a great website for $1,000 in a competitive market. If I'm in a rural market and there's no other dentist, I can probably take a pretty basic WordPress template and build a decent enough website with library-based content that might outrank, oh wait, there's no other dentist in the town. If that's not your situation, you have to think about it a little differently. The internet requires constant care and feeding. Dentists get frustrated that they have to reskin websites every 36 months and that they're having to update content every 30 to 60 days, and that the social network component requires constant care and feeding. So does word of mouth. That's all social is word of mouth online, but your word of mouth requires that same attention, just the currency of time, not necessarily the currency of money. Okay? All right, what haven't we covered? What haven't we covered? Oh, this one. And you see the growth screen, guys? All right, so I've got 3 different practices. They all have a lot of new patients. And then the other thing I start digging into is, well, how many of them came in and didn't do anything? And see, in practice C, a new patient is only worth $678. And practice A, a new patient's worth $1,200. So what I can spend to go get them varies. And then I start to kind of dig into the nitty gritty. Every practice has a first-class cabin. Do you know where your first class cabin is? The patients who refer a lot, the patients who do a lot. I get things in first class that I don't get when I sit in the back of the plane. What do those patients get in your office that everybody else doesn't get? Because they're worth it. They're the ones, that whole Pareto principle, 80-20, they generate a fair amount of the revenue. Okay? When you look at these 3 different practices, there's some patients who don't do anything. Practice C, I've got 20% of the patients that don't do more than $100. Only 2% of the patients do more than $3,000. Know your first class cabin. Did we put anybody to sleep?
I'm awake.
Here's the other thing. Let's see. It's really hard to stand out. It's really hard to get people to pay attention. On the average, people are consuming about 11 hours of media a day. And you're in that second tier, the millennial tier, maybe I don't think any of you are over 35 yet. Okay. So you're watching a lot more time-shifted TV, right? Game of Thrones, Netflix, and all these various things than you are live TV. But if you look at those people 65 and above, look at their app usage on a smartphone. Look at their internet on a computer. They're on a smartphone more than they're on a computer, and they're over 65. Be fearless and relentless about your first page reputation on both. Radio works in some markets, guys. But if people are inundated with 11 hours of media a day, and you're hoping that your one Facebook post is going to be the be all end all to solve all your new patient problems, you're nuts. It's important to make sure you're engaged with your patients where they are in the community, where they are online, where your potential new patients are in both those places, and within the 4 walls of your office. That's great marketing. All right, questions. Questions tonight. Let's see.
Do you guys want to unmute? And if you've got questions, just ask them, unless you're in a shopping mall or something weird.
Everybody's still Googling Harry Peach's website.
I was going to on my phone. It's not mobile friendly. You know that website's not mobile friendly.
I have a quick question.
Hey,
Just
Erin.
regarding, hi. First of all, thank you. And then my question is regarding social media posting. And I know you mentioned our office does work with the team that you mentioned, and they create a lot of posts for us, but they were telling me that it's really important that I have videos on there and I create content, and that way patients see my face and patients' faces. So I'm trying to spend a lot more time doing that. But I know you mentioned that it would be better to not allocate a lot of time to that. So what do you think the importance is of having more specific posts with me and my patients and my team and patients and me doing videos versus just content that they're putting out there regularly?
Your team and your patient photos are a lot more valuable. So let's see if we can resume this. Can you guys now see the Facebook Insight screen?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Erin, I think your social media presence is really good. I like to see, I don't know what Kristie thinks, but when I see pictures of you with a patient, I think, if you had some sort of schedule with picture of you, picture of your team, and then a normal post,
Okay.
I think, but Kristie may have better idea, more analytics than I do. So
yeah, all you're looking for is that engagement, and usually photos and videos of you and patients is always going to have a better engagement than a library-based post. So when you pop in and you look at your insights within the Facebook page,
Okay.
you can look down here and see. All I'm looking for is, okay, where are these big bars here, right? So the generic posts like Happy May Day from the team.
Right.
Right. First of all, it didn't reach any more than 280 people. But then I start to look at some of these more personalized posts. Hey, there's 2 new babies. Oh, look, the engagement was 3 times that.
Right. Okay. Can you do that on Instagram too?
Can you look at your insights? Not as well.
Okay. Because I think I've only looked at them like once on Facebook. I never even tried on Instagram.
Yeah, not as well. You can use their business manager tool, but Facebook's going to give you more.
Okay, I'll start looking at that. Thank you. I didn't
You're
really.
welcome. Other questions, guys?
So I have a quick question. Can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
Okay.
Did your baby go to sleep?
Yeah, first time webinar. So I situation where I bought a practice about a year ago, so an existing practice, and I'm gonna have to go through a rebrand here really soon.
Tell me why.
The rebrand because I'm the outright owner,
Okay.
but I'm doing business as their name still.
Okay.
Because they have a good brand, and we wanted to keep as many patients as possible. So my question to you is, as far as my website, would it be to my advantage to do, right now my website is tied to their website, right?
Okay.
But I thought about maybe creating a second website, and it may be just a really horrible idea, or it may be a good idea, which is specific to my location, to post more of like my team and, things, my own content to kind of double dip a little bit until I have to rebrand. Or is that just a bad idea? Patients will get confused.
The hard part about that is you're going to run into that NAP consistency issue, because the internet's going to start to see two different businesses with the same address and phone, but a different name. And so that's going to create some challenges. If you want to create a new website, start doing that behind the scenes, and then simply redirect the domain once you launch that rebranding, if you will.
That was part of my plan. Yeah. To redirect the domain. Okay.
Yeah, but two at the same time is going to cause you some NAP problems.
Okay. Even though the other one is buried within, so they have 3 locations, and that my technical website is kind of buried within that one. So it's kind of like lost. It's a few clicks deep. It's called Harris Dental.
Harris Dental?
Yeah.
What's the location? What's the city?
Scottsdale. Yeah.
So that's a pretty strong Google My Business listing with 77 reviews.
Yeah, that's we're going to be able to take that over.
Right, but you're going to have to change the name of that.
Right.
And then, so remember, name, address, phone. So anything where your name, address, phone appears, this is a lot of, there's going to be an SEO firm is going to have to come in and touch all those directories, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So if somebody's looking for Harris Dental, it's pretty easy to find them. If somebody's looking for you.
You're right. Can't tell. Oh, watch out what comes up. No, I'm just kidding.
The good news is right now, the first thing that comes up is your inner page on Harris's Dental. And then your LinkedIn page. So that's not bad.
Okay, good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't, especially now that I know that I would not build a separate one. No.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, thank you. That's very helpful.
Other questions?
I had one in regards to the first question that was asked.
Okay.
Thank you again so much for all of this. But when it comes to social media posting across various social media platforms, is it recommended to vary the posts or keep a fairly similar post throughout if you're trying to hit all the social media platforms?
Are you asking me if you're going to take the same picture and post it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all these various things?
Yeah, I'm saying like if is it wise to, I guess, shotgun effect and hit all social media platforms with the same post, or is it better to change it up as you go to those other platforms?
The gold standard would be that you would tailor the post to the platform, right? Twitter has certain rules, Facebook has certain rules, so on and so forth. Instagram's a very visual platform where we go buck wild with hashtags, and we don't do that. So the gold standard is to vary it. With a limited amount of time, is it better for you to link all those accounts with like Hootsuite or something and start dumping it in there rather than doing nothing? Yes. So just be honest with yourself about how much time you really have.
Fair. Yeah, I'm not the biggest social media person in the world, so I'm trying to improve on that.
And really look at, you could try dumping that for 30 days and then go look at the engagement across the platforms and see where you get the most, and then focus on that one for the next 90 days.
Excellent. Thank you.
Anybody else? I'm fine with awkward silence if you're waiting.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's always fun to teach.
Kristie, will you spend 1 minute and explain what you do for a job?
Sure.
What your company does?
I'm a CMO for dentists. So most dentists don't have a chief marketing officer, even though most businesses do. So I don't sell anything. I don't sell websites or graphic design. I help dentists make smarter marketing decisions. People hire me to be their chief marketing officer. I'm cheaper than a full-time employee, and I usually know more than somebody who works at the front who's in charge of marketing. So usually a couple hours with me helps save a tremendous amount of money and make some smarter marketing decisions and kind of give clear direction. Okay, the admin team's got to go do this. Doctor's got to go do this. Vendor's got to go do this. I also take a lot of time away from the doctor communicating to the vendor and kind of back and forth, where we really don't know what they're talking about. So I'll insert myself in those relationships. And then I report back to the owner, which in most cases is you guys, as the CEO of the practice. So that's what I do.
Very good. And Kristie is the perfect example of a resource partner in the Crown Council. So she's not obviously being paid for tonight's webinar. She's perfectly willing to just share solutions to problems. That was all I asked her to do. So you've done a fantastic job, Kristie. Thank you. I know I've copied you on emails to the young dentist, but how could they reach out to you and connect if they are interested in your service or asking more questions? What's the best way to connect?
Guys, you can go to my website and there's a button there that says Contact Kristie. There's a big red button that says Find a Time to Meet. If you just got a quick question, use the contact form and just ping me. Hey, I've got this proposal. Will you take a look at it? If you want to spend a little bit of time, that'll open a HubSpot meeting link. You can pick a time that works into your calendar. Or you can book it directly.
Nice. Okay. We're gonna be done unless somebody has anything else. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Kristie.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Stu.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Kristie.
Thank you.